Now this morning we do have a crew in Boston where the hospital's there reporting nearly 150 people were wounded in those bomb blasts. At least 17 of those injuries are critical. News 12's Scott McGee is in Boston this morning with the very latest. Scott, what's going on right now?
Chelsea, you know, there's a real sense of dread and foreboding here in Boston. You know, even just coming in to make reservations for our hotel, I had the hotel operator tell me, be careful out there. And she really was sincere. It was a very surreal feeling for me because I had never had someone say that to me on making a hotel reservation before, but you could tell she really meant that. And it's really summed up here by the headline in the USA Today, Terror Returns. That is the kind of the feeling here. I mean, Boston should be celebrating the successful end to another marathon, something they have done many years in the past and have always gone off without a hitch, but not today. Today they are looking for a murderer. We are about a block and a half from where we stand is the finish line where all of this occurred. And, you know, we can't get too close, but it is an amazing feeling just being around. What is a crime scene instead of what should be the end to a very competitive race. Earlier today, we want to show you, we just shot some video just about it a few hours ago that was shows about as close as we can get to the downtown finish line here. You can see there is just garbage strewn. There's what are called these heat sheets. Those are those metal, almost aluminum foil looking sheets that the runners put around them after they finish the race. And there's just that and garbage and police presence everywhere. You got the shots of black sedans and black SUVs with lights flashing and sirens blaring all over the place, and with no real clear indication of where they're going. I had one interesting thing happen as well. I talked to a man, his name's Wojtek. He lives in Rockland County. He is stuck in his Westin hotel room on the 34th floor. He finished the race about an hour ahead of the explosions, had a wonderful time, was showering up, was getting ready to go out to kind of celebrate the end. Instead, he had been locked in his room, were essentially not being able to leave because they had shut down that entire area. So I had to talk to him on FaceTime today, and here's what he said it was like to be locked in a hotel room while he's finishing a race.
At a certain point, we realized it's going to be hard to leave this area. And when I called downstairs, I was told that we are under lockdown and we're not going to be able to leave the hotel for some time. At this time, we don't know exactly how long. They've been saying something about a radius of 15 blocks around where the explosions happened. It's going to be closed for 24 hours, but we don't know if that means that we won't be able to leave. Maybe they will allow us to leave later on today or tomorrow.
So Wojtek's concerned really for the people who have been injured in this, the people, the family of those who have been killed. You know, he was not so much concerned about being stuck in the hotel, but, you know, to a person, I've talked to many people who participated in the race. They just said it was an absolutely perfect, flawless race until that very end, that the weather had been perfect, the people had been wonderful, that the city had really put on a first-class competition, and now it has been marred by this, and a lot of people wondering what's going to be happening next. We will be having an update, we're told, at 9:30 this morning from the police here, from the law enforcement, to find out where the investigative side of this is going. But for now, that is the latest from downtown Boston. I'm Scott McGee, News 12.
All right, Scott, we'll be checking in with you throughout the morning. Such a devastating day for everyone waking up there. Let's get to News 12's Scott McGee, who continues our coverage from the scene there. Scott.
Well, this morning it is starting to become a new day here in Boston. You start to hear the birds chirping off in this park next to us. You see over my shoulder there that the line of demarcation, so to speak, is still up. We've got a lot of satellite trucks. You talked about the media attention here. So much attention from so many different media outlets. I was here earlier this morning, very early this morning, and heard reporters speaking in Chinese, French, a few languages I did not even recognize. There were people here from clearly all over the world that are focusing on Boston as this event starts to unfold. I do have with me even one of the heat sheets that we had from earlier today. We found that just in that area, it's really become quite a mess in that area around where these explosions happened. Someone obviously tossed this in a big hurry and left. But earlier today, we got some video of that area that you can really see what a mess it has become, where all of the police are investigating around the area of the finish line there will allow us to get within about, say, a block and a half of the finish line, but that's about it at this point. So we are close to, we hear a lot of sirens. In fact, we got police right here waiting for us, and we're going to just continue to watch what's unfolding in front of us and wait for police to talk to us about the latest in this investigation.
Well, Scott, let me talk to you a little bit more about, earlier in the morning we did talk to you about some of the people that you've been talking to since you've been in Boston and the mood there and the kind of sense of community, because Bostonians are very strong and they're going to persevere and come through this.
Yeah, there is a real sense of resilience here, that is for sure. However, there's also this sense of familiarity that so many people I've talked to, and a lot of them have connections to the New York area, remember 9/11 so vividly, and they say this really just brings them back to those days, some days that they had hoped that they had left far behind. They really feel like they are going back to that time, and they want to move on, but there's still definitely a sense of shock here.
All right, Scott, of course, we'll be checking in with you all morning long. Thank you for that report.
News 12 Scott McGee continues our coverage, and he's right near the scene. Scott, just how close are you to where this actually happened?
Well, we've got a pretty good vantage point from here, Chelsea and Lisa. I want to kind of paint a picture for you. You see this string of motorcycle police officers that just came rolling through about 5 seconds ago. Now, in front of them is the medical center. That is where the medical tent, where they thought they'd be dealing with sprains and dehydration yesterday. They ended up having to deal with far worse than that. This is Copley Square. This is the area where those explosions occurred. In fact, you got a number of landmarks here. The library off to the left just a little bit, right in front of where those police officers are, the motorcycle officers. That is the public library. Just north of here is, I'm told, where the two explosions occurred, right on the other side of that white medical tent. But there's also something else going on here, guys. Every couple of minutes now, you see someone. In fact, if you look to my right over here, look, there's a couple carrying around a bag. We'll have to wait for this bus to go by here, but every couple of minutes or so, if that, someone will be walking up the street. They'll get into a cab, like this white cab right over here, and they'll have to be taken to the airport. What happened was last night, so many people were staying in hotels, and those hotels had been locked down. So they are either locked out until late in the evening or were locked in all night long. They are now just getting out. They are walking out looking very weary, very tired, obviously ready for this entire experience to end, and they're having to race to the airport to hopefully catch a flight somewhere. And of course, this race is world famous. People fly from not only around the country, but around the world.
All right, Scott, you did touch on this earlier in your other reports. What is the mood of the people in Boston? They are so resilient. What have you seen when you've been talking to people out there this morning?
It's still sort of in that shock area. A lot of folks are just, it reminds them of 9/11. I hear that again and again from people, that it sort of takes them back to 2001. And they can't really believe it's happened, but they, to a man, has said, we're going to have this race again. We are going to continue. We are not going to let this end what has been such a great tradition for the city of Boston. Reporting live in Boston, I'm Scott McGee, News 12.
All right, Scott, thank you so much. Such a difficult morning for everyone waking up in Boston and across the country this morning.
With News 12, Scott McGee. Scott, what is it like there this morning?
Boston is waking up to a new reality this morning. They are part of a very dubious fraternity, cities that have been touched by terrorism, and there's no better example of that than the front page of the Boston Globe this morning. You can take a look at what is a very difficult picture to look at. Under the headline, Marathon Terror, a young woman being worked on by two people, possibly strangers, obviously very badly injured. And she is one of many people that are recovering today in area hospitals. In fact, if you look over my shoulder, I want to paint a bit of a picture for you here. This white tent over my shoulder, we're looking due north here at Copley Square. This is the epicenter of the race and also now of the explosions that occurred here. That is the medical center where they had been thinking they'd be working on people with sprained ankles and maybe dehydration, but in fact ended up having to treat people for injuries far more serious. This is an area where, very close to where those explosions took place, just on the other side of that is where the first device exploded. There's still a lot of fire, police, even military presence here as the investigation continues. We also have had some people just walking out. There are a number of hotels in this area, and the people who have been checked into those hotels were racing yesterday. They had been, for many of them, locked out of their hotel rooms for much of the day, or if they were in their hotel rooms, they couldn't get back in. So they have been waiting all morning. They have now been in a steady stream walking into this area, picking up a cab, trying to get to the airport as fast as they can to get a flight out somewhere. You know, we talked to a lot of people today about what it's like to be here, and they said that while it is a tough day, there's something about it that is very familiar.
I work right down the block at the homeless shelter, and you know, it's just. I work right down the block at the homeless shelter, and you know, it's just. It's an eerie feeling, just back to, you know, the same feelings that I got when the towers came down when I was down in New York, and it's just a pretty scary situation.
That there, Angel Marte, a guy just going for a jog this morning before work, had lived in New York, had endured 9/11, now living in Boston and feeling those same feelings once again. Reporting in Boston, I'm Scott McGee, News 12.
All right, Scott, thank you so much for that report.